What up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to me life. Second video in a week. I'm proud of myself. I told you that I would come back on and let you know a little bit of the story about what's been going on since the beginning of the pandemic virus thing and with my work and everything like that. I said I'd tell you kind of the story, and I come back on and tell you a few other things. So if you want to sit back, chillax, and listen if you want, and watch this face, this lips moving. Sorry for the quality. I know it's a little off, and my hands are like making these waves, but my phone sucks. It's a cheap one, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so the beginning of the pandemic, that would have been March. And in my last vlog, I was telling you that I had the job, and then there was like, in that bits of like when it first started with the pandemic, I was off for the 2 weeks because I was sick, apparently sick. So I had to be quarantined for the 2 weeks. That was at the beginning of the pandemic. So that was like at the very start when it was starting to like fully hit, when the lockdowns were coming and all that stuff. So I was working for a place called Temp Dispensing. That's in Brantford here, and that was they do all your soap dispensers. And I mentioned that before. All your soap dispensers for every public washer out there. I know they do it all over the states too, apparently. So it's Debs or S.C. Johnson bought them up. So I was working there, and it was good. And all of a sudden, they had the lockdown. Where it was the beginning of the lockdown and all that. So I woke up one day, and I usually have sinus issues. I usually have sinus problems in the morning, especially in the wintertime when it's cold and the weather changes, it's back and forth. And I usually put up with it. I'll put up with it for the first hour that I'm up, and then I'll go on with the day or whatever. I'm fine. Like, I can handle it. It's not nothing. It's just in the morning, and everybody has a doggy morning. But it was just in the middle and the very start of this pandemic, and we had a meeting the day before or 2 days before about what helped you out. If there's anything you need or anything that's a problem, we'll work with you and we'll help you out during this pandemic. We know that it's going to be hard, but we need you guys to work because we're going to be working because they need sanitizing and soap, and they need their dispensers. Like, they were doubling their stuff, and it was getting busy. So they were basically saying they were going to help and all that stuff. And then I looked at my buddy and I'm like, oh, this is going to be an issue, man. I have sinus problems. It's like, I don't know what's going to happen. So, sure enough, it was nice for like the first couple of days, and all of a sudden it snowed. And usually when that happens for me, especially living up in this place and it being where the airflow is, for me, again, mind you, I've handled this. I can handle it many times before I've handled this, but this is in the middle of the pandemic, and people are freaking out about some colds, your throat, your whatever it is, you're freaking about, your nose running and stuff like that. So I woke up and I called them, the temp service I work for, and I called them. Plus I called the place that I work for at the time. And I was like, hey, I have sinus issues. I said, I don't know if you want me to come in, or I said, that's all it is. It's just a sinus problem. I don't want to like show up there and then get in trouble for being there and then hiding it and lying about it. So I thought I'd call and let you know. And this is all it is. It's nothing too big. They emailed me back like right away, or called me back right away. Said, no, you stay home for 2 weeks. You're sick, blah, 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 quarantine, blah, blah. I was like, I'm not sick. Like, I feel, the way I feel now, like a little bit groggy, if you can hear it. It's like, that's how I felt. But in the middle of that pandemic, I understand, and they were like taking precautions and stuff. But I wasn't sick. Mind you, I wasn't sick. And I thought I could fight it. I lived beside the hospital, and it was like busy as fuck, and then I couldn't get in there. All this crap was happening. So I said, screw it, and I stayed home for the 2 weeks. And I didn't want to do this simulant check. I didn't want to get into it and stuff like that. I didn't understand it, and at the time, I didn't understand. This is in March. Like, March. Just the pandemic when it started. So I went back to work after that for 2 weeks. It was fine. Another month in, a month and a half in, it was fine. It was working fine. Everything was going good. Again, one time I woke up and I had this huge like pain. My gut was swollen. It was hurting. I was in pain. So I called in and I said, tooth infection, blah, blah, blah. Now, they said it was fine. This is the temp service, and they're supposed to be communicating back with the place that I work for. So I emailed them, and they said, yeah, everything's fine for a couple days, few days, went in, everything was good. They said, yeah, when are you ready to come back in? I was like, I'll wait another day, and they said, yeah, that's fine. And it came down to like 5 days in, or 4 days in, and I was feeling like crap, and I was like, I had this huge tooth infection and all this stuff, and I was trying to heal it so I could go back to work, and I was communicating this back and forth through email with the staff there, at the temp service, and then it came down to like a Thursday or something like that. It was like a week, 5 days in or something. I forget what it was, but it came down to like the last 2 days, and they emailed me and they said, are you ready to go back this week or next week? And again, I was communicating back and forth. I was like, is this all right? I don't want to lose my job and this and that, but I'm actually hurting, and this, I can prove it. I can do this, I can do that. They said, no, everything's fine. Are you ready to go back this week or next week? And I said, well, I'll go in tomorrow. This was like Wednesday or something. I said, I'll go in Thursday. I said, but I don't know. And I was worried about losing my job, so I was kind of pressured. I just didn't know what to say. So I'm like, well, I'll go in tomorrow, thinking that I was going to be fine. So in the middle of the night, I wasn't fine. So at 3 a.m, I called that office, left a message, and I called the Randstad office, left a message, and I emailed them. And I was explaining to them, and I was like, this wasn't a good idea. Maybe I should start fresh Monday. I woke up that morning with an email saying that do not return. And there's no fighting it. You can't fight it. Like, there's no way around it. You can stress it out for a while since the temp service and stuff like that. But the way the communication was between my emails, I was in the right, they're in the wrong, doing what they were doing. Yeah, so that's how that ended. I just couldn't return. And I was like, what? I was like, okay, well, I'll look for more. This is still in the middle of the pandemic. Some people were like open, so I called them. I'm like, is there any more work? I did this for like a few weeks, and they just kept saying, no, pandemic, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, just send me my ROE. This was like in May, the second week of May. And then within a week, I started getting a stimulus check. Now, if I don't understand in between that where, I mean, my thoughts now, what I'm going through now, I'm happy. But at the time, I didn't understand. Because I was like, I wasn't sick the first time I was off for 2 weeks. Yeah, I'd taken precautions, but I wasn't sick. And I could have proved it and all that stuff. And I wasn't sick, and I had to lose 2 weeks of work. 3 weeks at that, because I couldn't get to pay for it next week. Then, I was actually sick. I was actually communicating back and forth. Everything was actually going well. And then, boom, I lose my job. Like, there's proof of this going back and forth. It just doesn't make sense to me how people work. And for me, I stand up, and usually in that situation where, like, there's no point of fighting it, especially with what's going around in the world. There's no point of fighting it and stuff like that and going on with it. But I did what I needed to do. And it was weird that one time I was sick, I had to stay home, and I could have proved it. And the other time, or I wasn't sick, and I could prove it. And this time I was actually sick, and I still could prove it, and then that happened. And they said they can help you out and all that stuff. So, it's like, don't... So whatever, I don't know, all this weird shit going on with all this stuff, I mean, I lost out. But then I signed up for that stimulus check, like, a week into, like, May. At the time, I didn't understand that. Because I'm a spiritual person. If you do watch my videos, I'm a spiritual person. I follow how I feel, and I just go with it. My cat, oh my god, you have to give me my set. My cat, one sec. Oh my god. Oh, I couldn't pause this. Hopefully I could edit this out because he's just scratching at the door. He's going right back for it. It's so hot up here. And like, it's cooler downstairs. And I'm trying to get the fan to push it out. And holy crap. He's trying to scratch at the door. Oh man, that's funny. So, yeah, so that happened. Oh my god, and I got this lighting going. So, I'm trying to fan around. I really hope this fan noise isn't affecting the audio on this. this. I don't even know how this is going to turn out when when I edit it, because the fan's blowing this way because it's hot, because I have the lighting up there. Oh, so off track, back onto the story. Again, sorry for the quality. Oh, it's weird. So yeah, that happened. This was in that span of. So then I got the checks. Then I was starting to get everything that I wanted to get when I was working. Then I was stressing out about it because I was like, I don't feel right spending this kind of money on what I'm getting. But it's weird because I'm getting everything that I wanted and everything that I needed to build back up to when I was working. Everything that I wanted, I was getting when I was getting these checks. And I was getting just as much as, I was actually getting more when I was working than when I was actually getting from the stimulus check. But again, I was getting what I wanted when I was getting these checks. So I was stressing out about it because I was like, this wasn't the money, but then, or it wasn't the money that I was making. It wasn't that I was earning it. So it felt weird getting the stuff that I needed and wanted, and I was actually getting it. It was actually coming. That brings me to that a little bit in, I started to understand that if it wasn't for that, if I didn't end up losing out on that job and getting these checks, I wouldn't be in this position I am today. And I mentioned that in the last video, but this whole story brings it up to it, that if I didn't lose out on that job, which was meant to be anyways, because how they did that was messed up. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be happy, and I wouldn't be in the position today, and I wouldn't have all this stuff that I wanted. And it took me a while to take it in that I wasn't earning it, but there was no other way to get it. And if I was working and making that money, I was making more money every week, but I was stressing out all the time, so I wouldn't have a weekend, and I wouldn't have time to think, and I wouldn't have time to sit back and think about what I actually wanted to get. I had it all set, but I wasn't taking the time to actually do it, because I would work all week, have only a day to sit back, relax, and then another day that I'm back to work. So I was making the money, but it wasn't actually taking the time for myself. And yes, we do need the money out there. We do need to survive like that, but we also need time for ourselves so we can do the things that we want to do. That's why we stress all the time. That's why we just keep in that routine, because we're so used to it. The whole point is that if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have this laptop. I wouldn't have that cell phone. I wouldn't have this tripod. I wouldn't have that lighting right there. I wouldn't have my studio stuff. I wouldn't have that brand new computer desk sitting there. I wouldn't have this tent that I bought so I can go camping. I wouldn't have this one scooter I can get around in on my trail. I wouldn't have my live camera that I needed for so long. I wouldn't have any of this stuff if it wasn't for that. And I know myself to the T that well that I know for a fact that I wouldn't have it. And I wouldn't have started to get clean again if it wasn't for that. Because I was stressing, I was going through it. Even though I was making money, a lot of money, I was making more than what I'm getting now. But I wasn't happy. That should prove something. I wasn't happy working. Oh, you had 40 hours a week and you were working lots, and then you lost out on that. But the situation ended up to that for a reason. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be in the position, because I would have kept working. I would have kept stressing out every single weekend. I probably would have kept in my same stupid routine. And again, I wouldn't have this fucking place cleaned up if it wasn't for that. Again, it was stuck like that for months. You have no idea. It's not the best position, but I'm saying it's spaceable. It's cleaned up better. And I have what I need. I've had what I wanted for so long, and even in that 3 months, I could have ordered that stuff while I was working. But it just, the mental state, the mindset wasn't pushing me to do it, because I was thinking about the next week. I was thinking about this week, that week. It definitely was stressful. So my point is that when something doesn't feel right, and you can find the reason why it's happening, it really truly can open up your mind and your eyes to what actually is happening. And to me, I lost out on something that some would be like, oh my God, you lost out on what a lot of people are doing, which is working and all that. But that situation that I just explained, how it ended up to that, was not fully my fault. I did what I needed to do, but in the end, it worked out to be for me. And some would say, you know, well, you were working, so you had the money for this stuff. You're right. But the mental state wasn't there. The time wasn't there to actually fully think about it. The time wasn't there for me. And in this whole 2 months, since I've been getting this money, or a month and a half, I've had so much time to think. And now look, my place is cleaned up. I have everything that I needed. But in that 3 months that I was working, I didn't have it, and I made more money. So again, I'm happy where I'm at. And if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be in this position. I really wouldn't. I truly wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for that. And I'm happy that that happened now. And I'm understanding it now. And taking the steps to know that and understand it is it's not easy. And if you're doing it, then you should know that. But if you're not doing it, it's not easy. This doesn't just come overnight. And I'm like, oh, I thought about it and it just happens. No, it doesn't happen that way. It takes time to think about these things. Again, it comes down to the fact where, like, in that pandemic, I lost out on money and stuff, and then trying to pay rent, I lost out on a month, and then knowing that I've been bugging this landlord that I live here. Never even met the landlord. There's like a guy that leases the house that lives downstairs, but I've needed a new door, and like it all comes down. I know what's gonna happen. I needed a new door. I needed new stuff, so I didn't pay for like a month just to like open up people's eyes and like realize that I've been waiting a year and a half or longer for a fucking door that I wanted and stuff that I wanted. And then all of a sudden, I go on vacation. Just recently, just came back yesterday, and I come home, and my fucking packages are stolen. The locks are changed. My cats are roaming the house because the door's open. After we, like, the way things work out, man, and if it wasn't for my camera that I bought, I wouldn't have known any of this stuff. And I knew, so like being in the position I am right now, if it wasn't for certain things, I wouldn't be in this position. I wouldn't know the things I know if it wasn't for going through all that shit and finding out and truly digging deep and finding out. Those are risks people take, man. Those are risks that a lot of people that are scared to take because the outcome is not always going to be what you want. It's always going to be something that you want or something that you need to learn from. And if it's something that you need to learn from, a lot of people can't take that in, so they just take the easy route and say, no, it wasn't me, and they just keep going. Or it wasn't that, it wasn't this, and they blame something else, and they just keep going on. But I'm telling you straight up, like, I've had my issue, and if it wasn't for these situations, I wouldn't be where I am today. And people say this and that and this and blah, 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 blah. But I know myself that well to the T. That things will happen and things can happen, and I prepare for it, and I know what to do and how to take it in and handle it. I'm sorry I'm not going to get too much, but it's hot, and I'm looking for my one towel to wipe my face. So yeah, that's been my past 4 months, and then recently, like even yesterday, I had to fucking. If it wasn't for me calling the fucking police, these people would have been fucking punched out, man. Because for breaking in my place again, and me living here, being broken in 4 times. 4 times because this fucking door. From either people that were in here or people that fucking live here. And then my cats were fucked with, and then shit's fucking, my packages were stolen and stuff. I've been fucking these guys for a while, and I didn't pay rent once for 1 month because, for a reason. And I have rights for it. And a fucking cop show up and I get fucking shit because they fucking lied to them, so I threatened them. It's false statements, man. I have all proof and stuff like that, but it's the things that you can handle and things that you can't. I mean, situations that you have to be smart about, and situations that you have to just let go sometimes, or at least deal with it and then let it go. But lucky I can handle it, because if some people can't. And that cat is scratching at the fucking door again. Like, he's literally tearing it up, and he's been digging, doing this, and I've been asking for this fucking door. I can't find one, or I didn't know what to do, and it's their responsibility as a landlord to fix it. And everything else has gotten new, and doing things illegally. I'm not a fucking rat, but I don't want to fucking smash anybody out and go to jail. It's not worth it. See this shithead behind me? This is the one that's scratching at that door. You should see it. It's all scratched up and shit. So that's why I had to call them. So I don't fucking. This one was running around the fucking house when I come home from vacation. They said, "Why would you leave your cats alone?" I have a security camera, a live camera that I'm watching at all times. They don't need to know that, but like, you don't need to break in my place and stuff. Like, unbelievable. And the cops didn't even do anything. They yelled at me because they said I wanted to stab the guy or some shit. And I was like, what? Oh man. So yeah, that's me life. This is me video. So hope you can take that in. I don't know. Understand that's, shit happens, and be prepared that shit can happen. And be steps ahead because you never know. You never know. See this? This one scratched at the door. I know it's hot. Yesterday they were panting like freaking crazy. Like panting for like a few hours. It's hot up here. Yesterday at least it was. The other days they were fine. I was watching them on the camera. They were fine. I was gone away. And I was watching them and they were fine. Nothing was going on. Yesterday was hot though. They're roaming around the house. So I'm going to leave it at that. Because I just keep writing about crazy stuff. But yeah, so that's the story. That's what happened. And again, I wouldn't be in the position I am today if it wasn't for that. I'm happy that I'm in it and I'm taking the steps towards it. Because if I was in that spot still, I wouldn't be doing this. I wouldn't even be making a video, I bet you, because I probably wouldn't even have a phone with anything. I wouldn't have any of this lighting. I would have been frustrated and give up. Because half the time I've given up on the lighting. Or shooting a video because of the lighting and stuff. There's no point in shooting something that you can't see me when I want to do it properly at least. So, again, I hope you took all that in. I'm sorry for the long video. It's been 22 minutes. I don't know if you can listen that long, but I'm going to let it go here. I hope everything's going well with you guys. Hope you had a good weekend. Happy Canada Day. It's not Canada Day, but it's Canada weekend. The States go all week. We only go a day. So, this video will be posted soon. Today. Which is Tuesday. Much love to everybody. Keep that